Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got more speedrunning action coming right up. Shift just blessed us with some bikini bottom action, some cruise boosting. It was a lot of fun. And now we've got Torje coming up with an any percent run. Torje, what is going on? What's been happening in any percent? How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. About to do an 80% run. The 80% route for OT right now is probably the best it's ever been, and it's really really consistent. And I don't know, I just really love the route right now, and I'm excited to show it off.
Cool. ZFG, what are your thoughts on any percent? You kind of have you kind of strayed away. You know, you're more of a 100% kind of guy. What's your thoughts?
It's a category.
Okay.
It is
Well said.
indeed a category.
It's all right. I may have issues with the category, but I think it is super cool that it's possible at all.
Sure.
To do what is possible and how things have gotten to that point where everything is possible, and that. So it's actually really cool that it is what it is.
Yeah. At this point, the run is not RNG dependent, right? Like, I know that there was a period where you had to get the nut, but now it's not really about the nut. Can you explain that a bit, Torje?
Yeah, there was a period between like 2016 or like early 2015 when I started running the game until like middle of 2016. There was a run that did the same kind of glitch, GIM, to obtain the bottle that we need for Wrong Warp. But it was very heavily RNG dependent because you needed to kill an enemy, and that enemy needed to drop a nut, which isn't 100% consistent. It was like a 23 point something % chance, and then that nut also needed to land in the same spot, or in like a specific spot. But I think it was during SGDQ 2016 where Skater found a strat that had the same outcome, but it was not RNG dependent at all, and it was also faster. So.
And that's what's being used now?
Yeah, that's what's being used right now.
So has Skater been... I know Skater's, like, discovered a lot of stuff. Is he, like, a big part of why any percent is where it is today? Or he's kind of built it up? Yeah,
Skater's found a lot of strats for 90%. He's also found the Instaclip setup that's been used for, like, years and years. Yeah, he's found a lot of stuff for sure. Put in a lot of work.
Cool. Well, what about 100% for you? What are your thoughts on extending it a bit?
I mean, I've been doing 100% lately, and it is really fun. I'm curious to see how my consistency develops, because I've only been doing like really like high risk, low reward kind of strats at 90%.
Right.
And I kind of have to adjust my playstyle for 100%, but I feel like it's going pretty alright, and I feel like I can push my time like at least 420, 415-ish.
That'd be pretty hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Cosmic.
I used to play OT like 6 years ago.
Okay.
That's cool.
All right. Same.
So I know some stuff.
It's pretty fun. The thing about OT is just it's so punishing. That's what hurts the most. Because like Mario
really
64, you can drop a wall kick, and you lose like 10 seconds, but that's one A press, right?
Yeah.
OT, you miss an A press, it's a reset.
Yeah.
It's like 4 minutes lost.
Even the worst thing that happens in Mario is like you die and you lose 30 seconds, 45 maybe.
Yeah. I guess the worst thing would be like dying in THI cave, which is like a minute and a half lost.
Yeah.
And that would be a reset.
But then like OT, there's things where you miss one frame and then your run's over, or you lose 10 minutes or whatever.
Like your route is impossible.
Yeah, like you miss Wrong Warp by a frame, you go late, you have to like...
And then you press the reset button.
Yeah.
That's your only option.
You don't miss the reset button. You always press that on time.
Resetting and starting a new run is faster than trying to do anything else than Wrong Warp.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
All right. I'm going to go get ready for my run.
Good luck.
Let's go.
Good luck, Torje.
All right.
This is going to be sick. So fast.
Shoutouts to ZSR.
There. Shoutouts to ZSR.
Shoutouts to ZSR.
All right. All right. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So the whole any percent route revolves around a glitch called Wrong Warp. Now the Wrong Warp, what it does is it takes you from the very first dungeon to the sequence right after you kill Ganondorf in Ganon's castle. Which is like part of the only reason why you can complete the game as child entirely. Now, to do Wrong Warp, there's like a checklist that you need to check, right? And you need to, first of all, you need to kill Goma to have access to the blue warp, because that's what you use to Wrong Warp with. And you also need to reload Goma's room somehow, either by like leaving the room or dying or like save warping out of there. Somehow you need to exit Goma's room and reload it after killing her. And you also need a bottle that is filled with something that you can drop and pick back up. That lets you do Ocarina items, which is a glitch that you backflip and do Ocarina items at the edge of the blue orb, which lets you gain control of Link while the blue orb is trying to like warp Link away into the Kokiri Emerald collecting. So the whole route is revolved around that checklist, and the trick I talked about earlier, GIM, the trick that was RNG dependent, is the trick that's used to obtain the bottle. You don't actually get something that you can drop and pick back up, so we have to do a little detour after doing that trick to fill it with bugs. But that's pretty much what the route depends on.
Yes.
GIM, huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah, GIM is definitely by far the hardest trick in the run. It used to be really simple when it was RNG dependent. Now it's consistent, but it's really, really hard. There is safety stuff I can do, like I can pause buffer it, but when I do normal attempts at home, I obviously do everything unbuffered. Because each pause is like 2 seconds, and I can't have that. So
Yeah, 80% is because it's so short. It's so optimized that like every tiny little thing is really important, especially like a 2 seconds for a pause. That's huge.
yeah, that's
now.
huge. Can't have that. Yeah, if you're used to watching 100%, or any category that just gets sword and shield initially, such as 100%, you're probably used to seeing this movement in Kokiri Forest. I'm gonna do it a little bit different. I have some strats that are riskier, but save a small amount of time.
Yeah, so you see, Torje is also playing on the Japanese version. That's for faster text.
Yeah.
Text in this game just goes much faster on Japanese. And this is also on the Wii Virtual Console version, which has some benefits over the N64 version in allowing GIM to work. It's sort of a glitch that would crash on N64, but is fine on VC.
Yeah.
And also has like less lag, faster loading.
And the 80% route has changed like so much over the years. This game has a ton of different glitches you can utilize, and it's kind of like ZFG said earlier. It's really cool that this route even just works. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of the beginning's gonna look similar to other runs, and he gets to go somewhere really close to the beginning to do a huge glitch to beat the game really fast.
So the beginning of the run, fairly standard. Just collecting some rupees, grabbing the sword and shield.
Just get the sword and go to the shop and collect 40 rupees on the way there.
For general movement, you'll see mainly backwalking and side hopping. Backwalking is fastest. Backwalking and side hopping are generally the fastest forms of movement. Which one you want depends on certain circumstances. Backwalking is easy and consistent. Side hopping, you kind of need to get perfect side hops to really make it worth it. But it's good for like if you need a turn. Like for example, he's got a backwalk here, and then he's got a turn. Side hops are really good. So you'll be seeing plenty of that. And then also just standard forward rolling for shorter distances.
Yeah. Like if you want to like curve around corners and stuff,
Yeah,
backwalking
exactly.
is going to be viable because turning around takes a little bit.
Cool
Something
little movement here.
Yeah, really cool about this game is how backflips and side hops go a set distance, so you can just find cool movement like that.
Yeah, like Ocarina of Time. So we mentioned earlier, like in the pregame, how OT has like all these precise tricks, and in a lot of other games, like all these precise tricks in OT would probably make it like way too hard to run. And like OT, when we talk about how precise OT tricks are, we're not exaggerating. Like a lot of these tricks are like incredibly precise. They're frame perfect. They have, you know, these pixel perfect precision, whatever. But the reason they're like viable and not really even that hard overall is because OT has like incredible potential for setups where we can do like backflips and side hops and side rolls, and we can do all these different little movements that can change your position or angle by this exact amount. And we can use just like combinations of these small movements to get in exact perfect positions to make like super precise things fairly trivial.
Yeah. There's also like all the different sword slashes and stuff you can do. They all like change your movement and like slightly, or like change your position slight amounts, like all different types of slashes and stuff.
And yeah, that's how we can just get these incredibly precise tricks to be just fairly easy and standard.
So once he gets in the Deku Tree, you want to get to the basement, which normally you climb all the way to the top and you gotta break the web, but he has a neat little way he's gonna get there even faster.
Yeah, the run's been pretty standard so far. I'm just getting to Deku Tree with like fancy movement, but this is when the run, if you don't have an explanation, this is when it gets really hard to follow. So hopefully I can explain stuff properly, so it's possible to like keep track. I missed kind of my rolls there while I was talking.
Yeah, if you pull your sword out right before the vines, you don't talk to Navi, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
So right here, you got a glitch called Infinite Sword Glitch, where he did a crouch stab and interrupted it by using Navi to check the Skulltula. So now his sword is swinging infinitely, and if he shields damage in midair, he'll just stay in midair, which will be shown in just a second. Then you can side hop down here and break the web. Now he's trying to side hop off it frame perfectly.
That's a very precise setup so that he can do this. Another frame perfect input.
Yeah, if everything goes well, he's going to grab the vines right as he gets hit by an enemy down here. And he's going to clip out of bounds. And now, when you're out of bounds for a while, your camera kind of gets stuck, and he's going to use this stuck camera to do a glitch where he goes in bounds and goes back and climbs the vines again. But he'll be able to, he won't completely get out of the water state. You'll see the camera's kind of weird right now. He's kind of in the water, but kind of not.
He has like his dive meter
Yep.
still and stuff.
And he just grabbed those nuts and didn't get the animation for picking it up. And that's because he was still partially in the water.
Yeah.
When you grab an item in the water, he's not supposed to actually pick it up until he resurfaces in the water. But Torje hasn't resurfaced yet. And but what he can do in this state now is by going in front of a chest, it changes the item that Link is supposed to pick up when he goes in the water. So he's going to go up here, and there's a chest conveniently up here. Going to go in front of it. Just has to go in front of it. Doesn't have to open it. Then go in the water and pick up the item.
A compass,
Nice.
but not
Really need that.
actually a compass.
Yeah, and that's actually blue potion.
Whoops.
Whoops.
Just gonna show this cool skip one more time. It was so
Yeah.
cool.
It's so cool that I wanted to show it off twice. Come on, it went so well the first time. Don't do me like this.
There we go.
Nice. You can do a little trick there to like backflip just on the tip of the ledge and then jump slash to get that flame on the torch or on the stick.
Yeah. I also need to pick up nuts there because I didn't actually get the nuts earlier. I changed them into the bottle.
You'll notice he's a pretty low health, but that's actually on purpose
Yeah.
because he needs to do a death warp. Basically, he wants to get in Goma's room and kill Goma, but to do the glitch that he needs to do, there's this big stone slab that comes down when you walk in the room, and he needs that to not be there. The only way to get rid of it is to leave the room, and so he's gonna do that by dying.
Yep. This thing is coming down right now. Blocks it.
Yeah. Because we need a way to walk from the blue warp in the middle to that door in the back. And that stone slab right there is in the way. Now, if you remember the checklist I mentioned earlier, killing Goma was one, reloading the room after killing Goma was one, and a bottle was something you can drop and pick back up is one. Blue potion you can't drop and pick back up, so we need to do a little detour to Lost Woods to fill it with something that we can drop and pick back up. In this case, we're going to use bugs. So right now, I jump slashed into Goma there. I also died on the same frame that I killed Goma, so right after this cutscene, Link is going to die, and I'm going to exit the Deku Tree and go to Lost Woods. And that does two things. It lets us get to Lost Woods really fast after killing Goma, and also reloads the room, which we need for the wrong warp. So it's kind of convenient in that sense.
And backwalking is, like Xavier said, normally the fastest form of movement, but hopefully up here we see some other things that you can do to move faster.
Yeah, here's a Wes. So if you hold slightly outside the dead zone with the control stick, you can preserve your speed, especially when coming out of water. So he does a jump slash recoil into the water. The water preserves his speed, and jump slash recoil is fairly fast, a bit faster than backwalking. Then by holding ESS position slightly outside the dead zone, when coming out of the water, that'll further preserve his speed while on the ground, and that allows him to do that fast slide to Lost Woods.
These are the closest bugs to the Deku Tree that we can grab. 'Cause
Yep.
we need to drop them and pick them back up at some point.
And here's that same Wes from earlier.
Oh.
There's that tiny little gap that it doesn't even look like you should be able to go over it, but
Yeah.
he had to like turn the perfect amount to get over it, so that's what messed him up.
So now it's just straight back to Goma's room with the bottle.
Yep, the checklist is completed, so all we need to do now is do wrong work.
So this is another, like, there's already been so many precise things. Like, some of them we haven't even pointed out, like the jump slash he did to get up here, and there's just so many things, but here he's going to do a setup to get in the precise position on the edge of the blue warp.
So now he's doing Ocarina items on the edge of the blue warp. This allows him to... Nice song. This allows him to gain control and move around while the game is trying to start the Kokiri Emerald cutscene. And so he's going to try to leave the door on exactly the right frame. And he's in Ganon's castle.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the reason that works is when the game tries to play the Kokiri Emerald cutscene there, what it does is it adds an offset of 5 to the exit that the game puts you in. And usually the exit you would be put in is Kokiri Forest, so it would do Kokiri Forest plus 5. But when you exit the room there, on the same frame it tries to do that, it overwrites the entrance that you're coming from. So instead of doing Kokiri Forest plus 5, it does Deku Tree Basement plus 5. Now, usually in areas that have a cutscene, plus 5 results in a cutscene in that area, but Deku Tree Basement doesn't have a cutscene, so instead it just it essentially just adds 5 to the entrance table itself, and 5 slots down happens to be closest to Ganon's tower interior.
Yep. And the game's internal entrance table, it's like sort of ordered in some sort of way, but not generally what you would think.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be that right below Deku Tree is Ganon's castle.
Yeah, it's a crazy
interior.
coincidence.
Yeah, it's super coincidence. Super lucky.
So you might think all we have to do now is run down the tower and fight Ganon, but we can even do better than that.
Well, give me a second.
Yeah.
If the rocks cooperate.
And he says cooperate.
And there it is.
Nice.
I had a bad angle there, but I did a backup strat called upflip.
Yeah, so what that was, he can do a Hess, which is faster than the Wes he did earlier with the water. It's just from damage, and that gives him enough speed to clip through the wall. And then after clipping through the wall, he fell and entered the entrance from below. But he also did it at the same time he would have voided out from falling. After you fall a certain distance in that area, it voids you out and resets you at wherever you started. But that happened at the same time that he hit the loading zone for the entrance below. And so that loads the room, but with the coordinates of the top of the tower. And so he essentially started from the top of the tower, but with the inside of the tower loaded,
Yeah.
and was able to jump slash all the way down to the bottom. skipping the entire collapse.
Yeah, so usually if you try to like fall down the outside of the tower, there's just a timer on like how far Link has fallen, which is when he voids. But when the inside is loaded, that timer doesn't exist, so you can just jump slash all the way down to the very bottom. Now this cutscene is actually pretty interesting. There's an RNG factor in this. This is like the only RNG factor in the whole run. It kind of sucks that it's at the end like here, but the particles that move around this cutscene, like the rocks and stuff that you see flying around, the position of them and like how they move is RNG based. And based on how they move, the game can lag more or less, which can like slow down your game for up to like 3 seconds if like you have extremely bad RNG. It's never killed a run yet, but it will probably happen one day. Now, one of the crazy coincidences that lets this run be possible as child is the fact that the wrong warp takes you to right after the point that you need light arrows, and you can't use light arrows as child. And you can't you have to to use light arrows, you have to get magic, and you have to get a quiver and a bunch of stuff. And warping right past that fight with Ganondorf skips that whole part. But there's also another limiting factor, or it would be a limiting factor if another crazy coincidence didn't happen. So in this fight, the very last slash that you do on Ganon can only be done with the Master Sword on B, or with the Master Sword equipped. And obviously I don't have the Master Sword, but in the first phase, the Ganon knocks the Master Sword out of your hand regardless and places it by Zelda. And when you go pick it back up from Zelda, the game automatically equips it to your B button regardless of like what age you are. Because obviously they have no reason to program in to check for what age you are here. So obviously you're going to be adult, right? So it equips the Master Sword on your B button as child, and that's the second like huge coincidence that lets the game be completed as child. If that Master Sword didn't get knocked out and equipped onto you after the first phase, then it also wouldn't be completable this way.
And the way he's going to take out Ganon as fast as possible is doing that infinite sword glitch that he did earlier in the Deku Tree. And like DFC said, the sword is like swinging constantly now. I guess it's the stick, infinite stick glitch. But what happens when you do those crouch stabs, it's actually called power crouch stab because it stores the damage from the attack that you last did.
Yeah.
And he did a Deku stick jump slash at the start of the fight, and so that does the same damage as a Master Sword jump slash.
Yeah.
So it's like infinitely doing Master Sword jump slashes.
Yeah, and also for the first phase of the Ganon fight, normally all your weapons are reduced to 1 damage, with 2 exceptions, Master Sword and Deku Stick, because you shouldn't be using Master Sword for the first phase of the fight, and you shouldn't be using Deku Stick either because you should be adult.
Yeah.
And that's how the Deku Stick was able to get him down in only 3 hits. It's
Yeah.
only supposed to take 10. And then that's the second phase of Ganon.
Yeah, so when you do ISG, because you start it with a crouch stab, you get the damage value from the power crouch stab, and it just does that damage over and over. So this final slash is coming up, time is coming up here, and this final slash wouldn't be possible if the game didn't equip Master Sword on B. And that's time.
Nice. GG.
Alright, that was fairly solid actually. I didn't really mess up too much. Like I didn't mess up like anything huge, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's good.
Yeah, you got collapse skip. That if it didn't look hard, that trick is insanely hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
Crazy hard. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this crazy set of coincidences.
All right, come on over to the couch, Torje, and we'll have Simply ask you some things, I think.
All right.
Come on over, Torje.
There we go.
You just busted it out. It was amazing. Everyone was in awe. So, what's your plans moving forward? Like right now, you said you're doing a little bit of 100%. Are you still trying to get any percent lower?
I still do want to push any percent lower. Right now, the record I just got earlier this year, I got sub 17, which was like a huge, crazy milestone. But I still feel like I can push it like 3 or 4 more seconds if I really get a good run. Right now, I'm kind of just relaxing with 100%, but I do want to come back and do any percent eventually. I feel like once I get more comfortable with 100%, because right now I'm still like getting into the route and like getting into 100% properly. But once I'm like fairly decent at 100%, I feel like I should be able to juggle the categories. Like
Sure.
if I have because 100% you have to dedicate like at least like 4.5 hours to one attempt, And if I only have 3 hours left to stream, obviously the play would be to do any percent instead. So I probably will do something like that where I do any percent at the end of my streams and hopefully grind towards like a 1655 or 54.
That'd be pretty hype. One thing I always wanted to know with the 100% runs, because it's like 4 hours, do you guys just like plan your bathroom break? Like you just get it out right at the beginning, or do you have time during
Yeah.
the run? Like what's the move?
Yeah,
only
just
bathroom
get it
break-
away, get it out of the way first.
Yeah. If you don't get it out of the way first, there's like one cutscene, like the Nocturne cutscene, where you might have a chance, but you
Yeah.
basically have nothing.
Yeah.
That you pretty much found a skip for all the cutscenes, and that's the one
Yeah.
drawback.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you sipping on anything during the run, or is it just like
Oh yeah, I've always got my hydration juice next to me.
scary game?
Yeah.
Are you keeping it? Impressive. Cool. Well, thank you for the run, Torje. Up next, of course, we've got Super Mario Maker 2, and this time we're doing expert mode, endless. So it's going to be extremely crazy. It's going to be jam-packed. There's going to be Mario going on, and it's going to be wonderful. So thank you guys for watching. We have a short commercial break, and we'll get right into it. Peace.